Hey, what's going on everybody? Commander Crane here, and we are back with another Pioneer deck tech, and today we're going to be talking about Star of Extinction combo. I am very excited to share this list with you. As always, at the end of the video, let me know in the comment section below, what do you think about this deck? Is there a specific card that I definitely should have included in this deck that I did not? Or do you have suggestions for upcoming videos? Just let me know in the comment section. Okay, so Star of Extinction combo. I'm sure people have seen a lot of different variants of this deck over the years, because I know back in the day when, spoiler, when Boros Reckoner was in Standard, there was kind of like a pseudo combo deck with it with Blasphemous Act. I know that card sees a lot of play in Commander. And yeah, so it's kind of already been a deck, but I've never seen a Pioneer version of it, and because of a couple of new cards from Duskmourn, I really wanted to revamp this and try to do a Pioneer version. So, okay, so Star of Extinction. What is Star of Extinction? 7 mana sorcery, destroy target land. I love Ponza decks, so I mean, I'm already on board. Destroy target land. Star of Extinction deals 20 damage to each creature and each planeswalker. So I think you can kind of see the idea here. So Star of Extinction deals 20 damage to each creature. What are we, okay, so sure, it rats the board, but like, what else are we going to do with that? Well, we're going to try to kill our opponent because it doesn't hit a creature, but we're hoping that it, or sorry, it doesn't hit a player, but we're hoping it hits these creatures: Boros Reckoner, Screaming Nemesis, and Ill-Temper Loner. So obviously Boros Reckoner's been around for quite some time now, but Screaming Nemesis was my main inspiration to build this deck because it's another creature where whenever it's dealt damage, it deals that much damage to any other target, which is just sweet. I love Screaming Nemesis. The card is fantastic in its own right, and then now we get a really cool deck with a lot of synergy. And then obviously the Ill-Temper Loner is 4 mana. You get a little bit of extra value on the backside there, but I really just wanted 10 of these effects, so that's why I decided to play the Ill-Temper Loner in addition to this. So obviously, it's a 7 mana spell. We need a 3 or 4 mana creature to be able to do anything. What can we actually do in this deck? Well, what's really cool is I decided to play a splash package of like Devotion, Mono Red Devotion. So we're playing Burning Tree Emissary, Leyline of Combustion, and Chandra Dressed to Kill to help us get those red pips out, so that way we can make mana a lot easier to be able to cast the Star of Extinction. Which we'll talk about the Devotion package a little bit later in the video in terms of, you know, budgetary restrictions. But I thought that this was the best way to do it. You know, obviously Red doesn't have a lot of fantastic ways to ramp, so I decided why don't we just play a Mono Red Devotion package to help us be able to ramp into the Star of Extinction and other cards. But Burning Tree and Leyline of Combustion are just fantastic in their own right, and Chandra Dressed to Kill is absolutely fantastic. Definitely a huge fan of it. I don't feature it a lot here on the channel, but I really do like the card. And then rounding out our non-lands, we're also playing 4 Light Up the Night, 3 Pyroclasm, and 4 Bonecrusher Giant. So Light Up the Night, I decided I wanted to play like a fireball effect, if that's what we'll call it, and I decided to just play Light Up the Night, just because it's a really good card. Being able to do 1 damage with only playing like 1 red to a creature is pretty fantastic. So it's kind of like a pseudo, it's a removal spell on turn 1, which is pretty nice. But if we have all this extra mana from our Nykthos, because we made all this Devotion, we can also just throw it at our opponent, which is really cool. And also in a pinch, we can flash it back. We can remove some Planeswalkers from Chandra, which, not that that's going to happen very often, but it is something that definitely could happen. So the other card that made me want to build this deck too was Pyroclasm, just because I've been thinking of a lot of like different like Enrage-esque cards of what we could take advantage with Pyroclasm and, you know, Screaming Nemesis, Boros Reckoner, and I figured we'd include a couple Pyroclasms just because obviously Pyroclasm is fantastic at taking out all those small creatures, so that way super fast aggro decks don't just take us out before we can actually get to our main game plan. So definitely a huge fan of Pyroclasm. And then Bonecrusher Giant is pretty self-explanatory. It's a fantastic removal spell that can also add a red pip to the board that we desperately need. So that's pretty much why we're playing the Bonecrusher Giant. So that's all of our non-land cards. Let's go and talk about our lands, which we're a mono-red deck, so it's going to be pretty simple. We're playing 4 Sunken Citadel and 4 Nykthos Shrine to Nyx as our main lands that really help us do what we want to do. Sunken Citadel obviously is fantastic because it itself can just tap for mana for Nykthos, which is really good. So definitely a huge fan of Sunken Citadel. And then we're also playing 3 Den of the Bugbear, 4 Raminap Ruins, and 1 Sigkenzen as our main utility lands. And then rounding out our lands, we are playing 2 Shatterskull Smashing and 6 Mountains. I really do like the Shatterskull Smashing for 2 reasons. One, if we're Mono Red Devotion, we're going to be making a ton of red mana, so sometimes we're going to be able to filter that mana into different things. The second thing that's really, really cool is we can also hit our own creatures like Boros Reckoner and Screaming Nemesis to be able to do something crazy. So theoretically, if we have 8 mana and we can deal 6, it deals twice X damage divided as you choose. So we can just bam, we can hit like one dude and then we can just, it'd be insane. So I don't know. I really, really do like the Shadow Skull Smashings in this deck. Definitely very synergistic with the rest of this deck. And then as our spicy basic land of the day, you know we had to include the Duskmourn Mountain just because Duskmourn is the spicy new set. And of course, I do love the basic mount art on this one. So definitely a huge fan of that. So don't go anywhere yet though. We still have to talk about our sideboard as well as some budget alternatives for the deck. So the sideboard is really, really simple. Graveyard Hate is the name of the game. I would personally just play some combination of Tormod Script, Soul Guide Lantern, or Grafdigger's Cage. There's a lot of good graveyard decks going around right now, including like Greasefang and Arclight Phoenix, or is it Phoenix? Sorry. So obviously we need some Graveyard Hate. Extra removal. There's a lot of good sideboard removal that you could play. You know, like Obliterating Bolt is fantastic. I always forget the name of it, but it's the red, deal 5. It's like Sure Shot or something. I always forget the name of it. It bugs me every time. But that's fantastic for taking out bigger creatures like Shieldred, for instance. Magebane Lizard is absolutely fantastic. Any spell slinging deck, we're going to want to bring this in, and they're going to take a ton of damage from Magebane Lizard. It's really, really good. The way I like to think about it is if you're playing against Is It Phoenix, if they want to bring back the Phoenixes, they're going to take 6 damage if they don't remove the Magebane, because they deal, let's say they go Opt, that's 1 damage. Then, 2, they're going to cast a Consider or something. Then they take 2 damage, and then they Treasure Cruise. Then they're going to take 3 damage from that. So that's 6 damage right there. So I just had to mention that Magebane Lizard is absolutely fantastic. So Abrade. It does fall under the extra removal category, but I wanted to include this just because of the fact that we are a Devotion deck. So that means that people are going to be bringing in Damping Sphere against us just because it doesn't, obviously it stops us from doing some crazy Nykthos shenanigans. So definitely pack a couple of Abrades. I know that there's the new Untimely Malfunction, which that card is absolutely fantastic. I decided to play Abrade though just because of how aggressive the metagame currently is. So I wanted a removal spell that also could take out Damping Sphere. So I just wanted to mention that with Abrade. It could seem like an odd choice, especially in today's, Pioneer, but I do think the card is pretty solid in the sideboard. And then the last thing we have to talk about is the budget options for this deck, which is really simple. You can just cut the Devotion package and then swap the utility lands. That's pretty much it. The Devotion package is really only pricey because of Nykthos and kind of Sunken Citadel. But, if we're not playing Nykthos, there's no reason to play like the Leyline of Combustion or Burning Tree Emissary. We kind of just play like a traditional, mono red mid-range package where we just get up to 7. I know the only ramp I really included in the deck was the Ironcrag specifically in the budget version, but that's pretty much it. And then the utility lands, you can just cut those. I kept in the Raminap Ruins just because they are incredibly cheap though. So, and then the current list as it's constructed right now, including the sideboard, is only 300 and I think that's a 1. Yeah, it's a 1. And so the 7 and the 1 look so close to each other, but 301 US dollars, which is pretty cheap for a Pioneer deck, especially one that includes Nykthos and Chandra and some other really, really spicy cards. But I was able to get the budget list down to 87, which again, I think all I cut was like the utility lands, and I think maybe one Screaming Nemesis just because they are relatively pricey right now. And that's it. Other than that, the deck is incredibly cheap. So if you like mono red Devotion packages, or you just like Boros Reckoner-esque effects, or you just want to combo our opponent out, if you just like spicy decks, then this is definitely the deck for you. I know I have most of this deck itself, so I'm probably going to play something like this at FNM definitely sometime in the very near future. So that takes us to the end of the video here. Thanks so much for watching. The deck lists are in the description below if you'd like to check them out for yourself. Huge shout out to our channel members, Ralph, Matt, Arcadius, Ray, Gary, and Sarwanoki. If you were interested in being a channel member, it's only $1 US a month. You get access to the exclusive Discord as well as other features here on the channel. So I'm Commander Crane. Thanks for watching this video, and I hope to catch you in the next one.